Final match of the night, which is the men's Royal Rumble match. 30 men enter. Only one will leave as the winner and will main event WrestleMania 40 against the champion of his choosing. And the first 2 men in were Jey Uso, day one. You know what that means. And then we got Jimmy Uso coming in at number two to play into their history of them beefing. And I thought that was a very clever way to start the Rumble.
Yeah, good way to do it. Smart way to do it. Give them some interaction. And I was a little disappointed that we didn't, get like a dual, a couple of team ups just out of them being in the ring together. But I did enjoy the fact that they were the first two, and the face off was very well done.
Yes, agreed. Number three was Grayson Waller. Number four was an returning Andrade. Crowd reaction was so.
Uh, you know, I'm sure they didn't even know who he was under the mask, so there's that. But I thought the mask was dope too, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll give him some time. I look forward to Zelina Vega slapping the piss out of LWO and joining back up with him and them reforming what they had special there, and the way Triple H talked about him at the presser. I do think he probably does have some plans for him. So I look forward to what he's bringing to the table.
Me too. I think that's going to take a little bit of time. Maybe people didn't know who he was because the mask is that fly and the music was unfamiliar. But I think that this LWO Legato feud, oh, it's going to be popping. Electra Lopez, Santos, after a year, picked her up at the NXT parking lot. She's a part of the crew now. And I thought that she looked really good on NXT this week, talking her shit to Lola Vice and then taking out Zelina Vega on SmackDown before the Rumble. So I like the thoughts of what could be going on regarding faction wars with Legato and the LWO, even though Andrade's return via the Rumble was a little bit underwhelming in terms of crowd reaction. As we get to number five, Carmelo Hayes from NXT making his Royal Rumble debut. He's been on the main roster a few times lately, working on SmackDown. And you can see like this guy is going to be a big time star in WWE because he has not missed in terms of presentation. And WWE's done a very good job presenting him on their main roster shows so far.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think Carmelo Hayes is about it. Carmelo Hayes is a Trick Williams becoming good at wrestling away from being lapped.
You know what? I love Mello. And I'm not saying that you're wrong, but I will say that SmackDown the night before,
You heard that reaction.
I heard that reaction. And Trick Williams has never been on the main roster. His music hits, that entire arena is chanting whoop that trick in unison. So they know Trick Williams. They know he's a star. And I love Mello. I love Mello. But as you said, Trick is about a year from being great in the ring to yes, he will lap Mello. You are not wrong because I heard that reaction and I was stunned because whoa. Yeah, this isn't just a performance center thing. This isn't a PLE thing when they're outside of Florida. This is we're on the main roster and they know who Trick is and they see a star. And Corey's reaction on commentary, tell me he's letting them know. Like, yeah, Trick's got next. Give him another year for seasoning in the ring because this, oh yeah, I see it.
Yeah, Trick is ready. He coming. He coming very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Pause.
Yes. So next up is Shinsuke Nakamura coming in at number 6. Santos Escobar coming in at number 7. Karrion Kross coming in at number 8. Number 9, who gets a lot of heat, Dirty Dominic Mysterio. Number 10, Carlito. Number 11, Bobby Lashley, who goes on a spearing spree, eliminates Karrion Kross, and then a Karrion Kross eliminates Bobby Lashley. Then we have AOP and Cross jump Bobby, and the Street Profits come out there to make the save, but to deprive me of Montez Ford being in this Rumble, it's egregious.
You know, who it, I didn't even notice, to be honest with you. I know
And
that's
that's
foul, but
sad.
I didn't notice. I
That that
know, but
that
I
that's
didn't
sad.
even notice.
You know, this time last year, I was excited about Montez being in the Elimination Chamber, and it's staggering to me. And I got to look at Paul Levesque. Like, this guy had a standout performance in Montreal, and since that time, a singles push has not materialized. Help me understand.
Yeah, he'll let you understand that as soon as he gives you Liv Morgan's explanation.
Yes, and if he can explain other things as well, and that might be a long wait. Sad but true. And here you go with that lift shot. I've given up, Scott. I don't care anymore. Now I've coped and I've learned to accept that she won't tell me why she went hardcore, but I digress. His number 12 is Ludwig Kaiser. And I liked him being just offended about him being around all of this fighting amongst the Street Profits and Bobby and carrying across his new crew. Then at number 13, Austin Theory. Number 14, Finn Balor. Number 15, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, and the star power kind of picked up from there. Number 16 was Bronson Reed. Number 17 was Kofi Kingston. And he's been a part of 16 Warrior Rumbles, second behind Kane. But dude, I gotta say, like, for years, Kofi was a highlight in the Royal Rumble matches. He would have clever near eliminations to save himself. This year, zero effort, and his performance in the Rumble was pretty damn unremarkable.
Yeah, not a lot to show for it. No Xavier Woods, just Kofi representing the New Day, and yeah, nothing. He was just a body.
Just a body. It's a sad state. So Kyrie had to pick up the mantle this year and say, I got you. I couldn't save myself completely, but I tried. It's like, wow, we have truly fallen, truly, truly fallen as we get to our next entrant, Gunther, who entered number 1 last year. And the final two were Cody Rhodes, and he had another great showing in this match. Number 19 was Ivar. Number 20 was Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker. I know the fans might not be familiar with his work, but his work was really good for the time he had. And I think that he is going to get called up. I think the time has come. He did an interview backstage and he says the main roster is now my home. He might be Monday Night Raw bound. I am going to miss my wolf dogs on NXT, but it is time. It is time for Braun to move on up. This man's speed is incredible. And if people don't know who he is, oh, they will in due time, and he will win them over because he is a star. And the ascension now begins for when Braun Breaker is going to be main eventing a WrestleMania in the next 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, he's ready. He looked primed out there. We talked about he's wasting away back in NXT. I love what he's doing with Baron Corbin, but this is definitely where he belongs. I think the commentators were intentional in not mentioning that Braun Breaker is the last person to beat Gunther, especially when they had that face off. So I think that was intentional because you could absolutely call him up and have him beat Gunther, and that's a hell of a way to debut as well. So loved what they did with Braun.
Me too. Great presentation. I presume that was the spot that Brock was going to be in, but for obvious reasons, he was pulled from this show, and hopefully there'll be more accountability on that in the weeks to come. Number 21 is Scott Sky Omos coming out to not do very much. And then number 22, I love Pat McAfee. I do. He was on commentary for all of this show. He was called in at number 22. He was not dressed to compete in a Royal Rumble match based on what he had on, and he eliminated himself. And I said to myself, really, you couldn't get Trick in this spot, but you got Pat McAfee. Okay.
I mean, it's Trick, Xavier, Dijak. Honestly, I was thinking now would be a good time to actually have Dolph Ziggler show up. He's TNA bound. You just had Jordan Grace show up. He's somebody that the crowd would be familiar with. He can be adept in all TNA gear. I think it would have worked perfectly. You could even have him be Nick Nemeth, whatever you want to do. But they instead had Pat just walk in the ring, walk out. He couldn't take a bump. He didn't want to take a bump. So there's that.
Yeah, I'm just curious, and I love Pat, but yeah, that was definitely a choice. So coming in at number 23 was JD McDonough. Number 24 was R Truth. R Truth tried to get in the Women's Warrior Rumble, and Nia Jax had to chase him down, and they tend to have that history together from a few years ago. And R Truth, he's very funny as a part of the Judgment Day. The comedy is hit and miss sometimes. This was funny though. He tries to make a hot tag in a Warrior Rumble match, and Dom does make the hot tag, but R Truth is very entertaining, but he is quickly taken out by not The Miz, who comes in at number 25, but Damian Priest, who comes in at number 26, followed by number 27, CM Punk, number 28, Ricochet, number 29, Drew McIntyre, and number 30 is not Dwayne The Rock Johnson, thank God. It was Sami Zayn.
Yeah, and he got a good reaction. I think they were smart to have the right people in these 30 spots to make sure they didn't get booed like Rey Mysterio. Um, but yeah, I was. That's why I said the Rumble was fine. I think they were missing a big surprise, a big return. I think this was very intentional to not do that, but it did feel like, at least for the men's one, it felt like it was missing something. Especially with the McAfee one not really panning out to be anything. It definitely lacked a little bit of that flair. Like where was like I know Booker T's still in solid shape. Why he couldn't come out and scissor kick somebody real quick? You know what I mean? And just get tossed out. So it definitely was missing a little bit of that flair factor.
It did. Now, Scott,
No, I'm not
respectfully.
asking for him to come back though, not Flair. I'm just saying the Flair factor.
I know, but respectfully, Scott, you're asking Booker T to come out. Did you see how he was walking down the ramp a couple of years ago? That man could barely walk.
I'll take him. I'll take him getting drove up on a cart instead of what Pat McAfee did.
Which was nothing. Oh, Pat, honey, just no. That was just a wasted spot. But yes, the Rumble down the stretch, it was good, but like the crowd was like kind of so for it. But I will say that Gunther and Drew McIntyre taking turns chopping the ever loving hell out of Cody and CM Punk was a delight. That was a great contest there. As McIntyre Gunther tried to be the alphas in this match, but it wasn't meant to be. As Drew McIntyre was basically trying to tell CM Punk, hey, kid, I'm your leader now. I'm not someone you push around. I'm going to be the one to eliminate you. And then CM Punk ends up eliminating Drew McIntyre. And the stare down was great. And then Cody takes out Gunther to play off what they did last year. And the final two is CM Punk and Cody Rhodes. They had that great promo exchange this past Monday on Raw. And Cody and CM Punk had a nice back and forth battle. The fans kind of got into it down the stretch, but they was kind of cold for it. I think they wanted Cody to win. They like CM Punk, but the reactions to me down the stretch was kind of weak, even though they did pop for the finish.
Yeah, like I said, they went for the Undertaker HBK moment at the end. They didn't quite get it. I thought the final four was a solid final four. Um, I thought Gunther got eliminated a little unceremoniously. That was a little disappointing. Nothing really got set up from it because they're not going to do Cody versus Gunther, so nothing got set up from it. And I feel like Gunther being in that match, and especially him not winning, you easily could have set something up. But like we said, that probably would have been intended for Brock. And I say, whatever you had planned for Brock, just let Braun do.
Mm-hmm.
You just let Braun do. If it was supposed to be a match with Gunther at WrestleMania, then God dag it, just give me Braun versus Gunther at WrestleMania. We know the match is good because we've seen the match on NXT. So we know the match will be good, and the match will be even better because it'll be on a bigger stage, bigger stakes, and a crowd that's going to be much more engaged and a louder and just a more raucous crowd. So I think whatever you had planned for Brock, you should have did with Braun because that's exactly what it seemed like. The face off, everything about it just seemed like that's what Brock would have did. Instead of Spears, you would have got Germans. But yeah, just people got taken out unceremoniously, and it was just kind of like, so that happened. Jimmy Uso got eliminated just randomly. Nothing, like they didn't even eliminate each other, Jay or Jimmy. Why wouldn't you have one of them eliminate each other? Jimmy could definitely use the boost and eliminate Jay. Why wouldn't you have that happen? It just missed opportunities, no stories. being told inside the Rumble as far as creating and setting things up. That used to be the whole point of the Royal Rumble, was that everything you were going to see at WrestleMania was going to get set up at the Royal Rumble. I think back to Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle, and how Shawn eliminated Kurt, and that set off the path we had to having arguably one of the greatest matches in WrestleMania history in Shawn Michaels versus HBK. So I just missed that element of it, and I just that's why this Rumble was lacking for me.
Yeah, I think the promos on TV did a great job building anticipation because you had so many stories going in. But for whatever reason, the stories were not told within the Rumble themselves. And I've thought of countless instances of, like, stories being told to build up to matches for WrestleMania if someone doesn't win the Royal Rumble. And I go back to Logan Paul the last couple of years. Ricochet and Seth Rollins was built from a Rumble match right then and there. And here we go once again, and we don't see that being told in this Rumble match, that you don't have a ready-made feud for a couple of people heading into the heart of WrestleMania season. And if the Brock spot was for Gunther, then let Braun handle that, because he's comparable, he's capable, he's younger, he's ready, he's not problematic. So let's just give him that shot against Gunther. The history's there, and they can deliver a great match on a big stage. They've done it before, but Gunther is better than he was a year or two ago. Braun Breaker has always been good, and for him to really hit his peak now in terms of I'm ready for this, he's not coasting, he's showcasing his speed and his power, and that is going to get him over on the main roster. And above all else, the personality is coming through as well. So if you can't do Brock, and I don't think they should use Brock Lesnar at all heading into WrestleMania season, then you do have Braun Breaker right there to be the guy to face Gunther, and it can be a very good to great match at WrestleMania.
100%. Gunther's got a reputation at WrestleMania, and I think Braun's the guy to do it. If it's not going to be dragging off, I think Braun's the guy. As far as the Rumble, 2.5 tiers from me.
Ooh, ooh, that hurts, because the final two was Cody Rhodes and CM Punk, and it was a nice battle, but just lacked that heat. As you said, they was trying to give HBK Undertaker from 2007. Did not come close at all. I liked the promos, but just the heat was lacking for me. But the fans popped for Cody winning the match. He is the first guy in 26 years to go back to back at a Royal Rumble since Stone Cold Steve Austin did it back in 1999. And congrats to Cody. And he pointed at the WrestleMania sign, pointed at Roman Reigns directly, who was in the skybox, and told him, I'm choosing you. No mystery as who he wants to finish the story against at WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia. And I am going to applaud WWE. Yes, the dangling carrot of The Rock is lovely, but you have committed to Cody Rhodes finishing his story for over a year. And I thought it would have been really messy for them to diverge from that path. Let him have this moment at WrestleMania 40. I already got people saying, I don't want to see the match. Like, listen, for storyline purposes, it needed to happen again. Cody was close last year. If you're going to use The Rock, use him as a special guest referee, use him as an enforcer, because as we said before, Roman does not need to be champion to face Roman to be in this head of the table battle on TV and at PLEs heading into the rest of this year. But all in all, Cody won the match. Happy for him. CM Punk will find his path to a main event by winning the Elimination Chamber, most likely. But yes, good finish. But the match, I'm going 2 tiers. It was not the best Royal Rumble I've seen. In fact, from 3 years ago at the Thunderdome, when nobody was there, in terms of match layout and emotions, I felt that way more than what I got at the Rumble this year with people there for the first time since they've been back in that building.